Season 10 incorporates many changes to Infernal Hordes by introducing new boons to choose from, as well as chaos waves and a new boss, Bartok, the Lord of Chaos. If you've been struggling to get the minimum amount of Aether to fight Bartok and to loot the 400 Aether costing spoil of greater equipment at the end, or if you just want to learn how to maximize your Aether every run, then this is a video for you. Let's jump right in. First off, I'm going to talk about every set of boons that you can take, including chaos waves, and every single one of these can guarantee you at least 1066 Aether with or without chaos waves. And after we break each set down, I'm going to tell you the very best combination to maximize your Aether. So first off, let's talk about the new Chaos Waves. The Chaos Waves are frantic waves that are much more challenging and dangerous than regular waves, but they do reward a lot more Aether than normal ones. Not to mention, you will get a rare chance of landing an Aether Goblin Wave, which will guarantee you at least 1000 Aether, and if you're really fast at clearing, upwards of 3,000 to 4,000. Overall, if a Chaos Wave does appear, I would recommend choosing it over other boons, unless one of the two below things are true. First off, if you don't have high enough damage to quickly take out the chaos monsters, and you can test this because when you first enter an Infernal Horde, there are chaos mobs that you have to clear along with an Aether Fiend before you select your first boon. Purpose of these is for you to judge the difficulty of that horde going into it. So if you don't feel like your damage is enough, you will easily be overwhelmed, and by not killing things fast enough, you're minimizing the Aether that you would gain from chaos waves. So that it was the case where you would avoid it. Also, if you're playing with a party, unlike normal waves, a chaos wave will automatically end if a party member dies. So if you're carrying a friend, or if you're playing more of a glass cannon build that is okay with normal waves but doesn't quite have the resilience for a chaos wave, that's a good reason to skip it as well. Now, that being said, let's talk about the other boons and how each set of them can get you over 1000 Aether, chaos waves or not. And these sets are the Spires, Hellborne, Aether Fiends, as well as Aether Masses. And Aether Masses in particular are a key ingredient to success for those other sets, supplementing each of them. So let's talk about the Masses first. Masses have really gotten such a large boost in Season 10, and they are unique in that they will directly supplement the other boon types, making them essential in your farming strategy. See, there are 3 boons related to Masses that will spawn either an Aether Fiend, a Hellborne, or a Spire upon defeating one. You'll want to keep that in mind depending on the options you're seeing. And to get the most out of your Masses, I recommend choosing the below in terms of order of priority. First off is the legendary boon, which is a little bit rare to find, and that is the Puffing Masses, which makes it so every additional boon you choose that's related to Masses increases the amount of Aether per mass you kill, so it compounds significantly if you choose a lot of mass choices. The second type you want to choose, if you see, is one that supplements the boon type you're going for. If you see a lot of Hellborne and you've been choosing Hellborne, it's important to choose the Hellish Masses, which have a chance to spawn a Hellborne upon defeating them, and same thing goes for Spires or Aether Fiends. After this, you'll want to prioritize choosing Bursting Masses, and this is especially important if you're choosing Spires, as Bursting Masses will automatically spawn 2 Masses at the beginning of each wave, granting you guaranteed free Aether at the start of every wave. And lastly, if you got those set up, I would then choose the Massing Masses, which gives a chance that when you defeat an Aether Mass, another one has a chance to take its place. This will give you an additional chance to spawn either the Hellborne, the Aether Fiend, or the Spire, depending on your previous choices. Next, let's talk about Hellborne boons. The Hellborne used to be the prom kings of Infernal Hordes, being the de facto choice update for the next wave. That's, however, not the case anymore, and this is primarily due to the fact that the summoned Hellborne, which spawns Hellborne as regular Aether events, is a legendary boon, which means they're a lot rarer to get. Now, if you do manage to land that first, I would then supplement it with the Surging Hellborne, which makes it so when Hellborne events do spawn, not only will you get an additional Hellborne, per Hellborn spawn, so twice as many Hellborns, but each one will also give you additional Aether. With those two set up, I would then get the ambushing Hellborn, which makes it so Hellborn have a chance to spawn on top of you while you're clearing out any Aether event, regardless if it's Hellborn themed or not. Now, supplementing this with masses, you will definitely want to snag the Hellish masses if you see them and no other Hellborn options are present. So essentially the priority here, get the summoned Hellborn legendary node if you see it first, then follow that up with the surging Hellborn so you get twice as many Hellborn, choose next the ambushing Hellborn, and then the Hellish masses. Now if you got that lineup, I would then further supplement your masses with the bursting masses, giving you the masses at the start of every wave that have a good chance to spawn those Hellborns. You will be guaranteed to get at least 1066 Aether in a 10 wave run, and that is without Chaos Waves. Next, let's talk about Spires. Spires have always been the controversial boon when it comes to Infernal Hordes. They weren't a favorite pick back before Season 10, and for the first few weeks of Season 10 before patch 2.41, they were a disaster. See, they changed it so that only monsters that you defeated inside the Spire gave you an Aether, when beforehand, as long as you were in the Spire, any monster, whether they're inside or outside of the Spire's radius, would still give you credit. Now, they did change it so a Spire's radius is increased and monsters will continually spawn inside, making them a pretty good choice and another theme of boons that you can go after to guarantee yourself that 1066 Aether, which I've tested myself multiple times. Now, in doing this approach, you'll want to get Hungry Spires as soon as you see it. It will not only drag additional monsters inside of it, but any monsters you kill within a Spire has a chance to drop Aether as well. I would then choose the Precious Spires, which makes Spires rarer but give significantly more Aether. And then once you choose that, you have a chance to get the higher tier of Precious Spires called Treasured. And then after getting Treasured, you have a chance for a unique boon called the Coveted Spires. And once you do that, I would then choose the modifier the Anchored Masses, which gives a chance for masses to spawn a Spire regardless of that low chance of spawning in a regular event. Combine this with Exalted Hordes, which increases the speed of Aether events spawning when you kill normal monsters by 50%, and you can get upwards of 80 Aether per Spire, making you quite wealthy by the end of your run. So in terms of priority, I would get the Hungry Spire, followed by Precious, Treasured, and Coveted. After that, choose Anchored Masses to increase the chance of you getting a Spire, followed by the Exalted Hordes to increase that spawn rate, and then you could further increase the spawn rate by choosing Bursting Masses. I would choose the Draining Spires as a last choice, as the 3 Aether is nice, but you're going to get plenty regardless. Now, we're saving the best for last here. If you're not looking to just meeting the threshold, you summon Bartok, as well as opening the greater spoil of equipment so that you could maximize the amount of Aether you get from the materials or gold cache as well, then Aether Fiends are the way to go, and I'll tell you why. Now, if you can get the Colossal Fiends, where Fiends will spawn as Lords early and give you more Aether, you can guarantee yourself 2000 Aether without doing any Chaos Waves. Combine that with the Fiendish Masses boon that spawns Fiends instead of Elites. Gather the Ruthless Lords boon as well, which increases the Aether further. Next, I would get the Exalted Hordes to make these Aether Lords spawn even faster, and then supplement them with the Teeming Masses, and then of course Bursting Masses as well, so you can get even more masses to spawn even more Aether Lords. Now, here's where things get really crazy in terms of maximizing your Aether. You'll want to combine your Aether Fiends with the Chaos Waves, because unlike Spires and unlike Hellborne, there are 2 formats of Chaos Waves that will actually continuously spawn either Aether Fiends or Aether Lords. So if you have these boons selected, you are significantly increasing the multiplier, which is already higher in a Chaos Wave, granting you a ton of Aether during that run. So essentially, putting it together, you'll want to get the Colossal Fiends, Ruthless Lords, Fiendish Masses, then supplement that with the Exalted Hordes boon for quicker spawns, Teeming Masses to get the Aether Fiends spawning, and then, of course, Bursting Masses so you can get more of those masses to spawn more of those Fiends. Exalted Fiends makes your Aether Fiends and Lords give 2 more Aether, but if there are other better choices like the ones I just mentioned, then I would go for those over that one, as it is the least impactful across the entirety of your run. Now, other ones that you'll see are Hellfire, Butcher, and Aether Goblins. Hellfire was a pretty good investment in prior seasons. However, I typically don't recommend choosing it anymore, as it's just not as lucrative as other choices ever since the Season 10 update. But if you don't have strong choices, say your first 1 to 3 waves, it could compound over time. But if you find it in the mid or later amount of runs, I would not recommend it, because the overall Aether you're going to get at that point is just not lucrative. Now, also, you'll have a chance for a Burning Butcher unique boon. I would recommend choosing the Burning Butcher towards the end of your run, so in one of the later waves, because the Butcher will only spawn once in that wave and grant you 100 Aether. So it's not a good choice for your compounding strategy. But if you're close to the end of your run and say you're worried you're a little bit behind on Aether, then getting that plus 100 could be a nice little boost to get you to that 1066 threshold you're looking for. Now, Aether Goblins are a great choice to select in the beginning or middle of your run, as they have a random chance of spawning alongside an Aether event and give a good amount of Aether when you do hunt them down. If you have a slower build and you're not grouped with fast party members, you may want to avoid this one, because chasing down the goblin, given how fast they are, will reduce the amount of time you have in that wave to clear out other Aether events. And overall, I would advise skipping them if you find them in a later wave, like 7 to 10, because you're just not getting that compounding value of them spawning during your entire run. Now, all this information can definitely be overwhelming, so if you're a more casual player or you're new and this is a lot to digest, fear not. My streams are dedicated to helping out the community, and I run a lot of Infernal Hordes, guaranteeing you and maybe your friends to get at least 1066 Aether and that sweet Chaos Armor this season. So be sure to give me a follow on Twitch, and if you want a great Diablo 4 community that is helpful, feel free to join the Burger Club, which is my Discord community, where we're always grouping with each other, helping each other out with builds and items as well. So how are you liking the new modifications to Infernal Hordes this season? Got any boons that are your favorite or improvements you'd like to see made? Be sure to sound off in the comments below. If you want a one-stop shop for all things Diablo 4 as well as Diablo lore, be sure to hit that subscribe button, where I release 2 videos weekly focused specifically on this franchise that we all know and love. As always, I want to thank you all for watching. A special thanks to all my supporters. Until next time.